My name is Jordan Hale. And at 34, I still owned the house that made Whispering Oaks the envy of every suburb outside Oklahoma City. But let me take you back 15 years to when this place was nothing but dirt roads and half-built dreams. I just graduated with an engineering degree and bought the cheapest lot on the cul-de-sac. A muddy patch with a tiny 900-square-foot starter home that leaked when it rained. To me, it was possibility in brick form. I convinced the builder to let me handle my own upgrades in exchange for helping finish the model homes. Every night after my day job, I'd be out there with a level and a dream bigger than my student loans. The neighborhood was raw back then. No rules, no board, just folks waving over fences and swapping tools. I loved it. I organized the first block party, planted the first community garden, even drafted the initial set of covenants because I wanted us to stay that way, nice, not nasty. Everyone called me the glue. Jordan, you should run this place, they'd say. I laughed it off. I just wanted my little corner of the American dream to stay pretty. Karen Prescott moved in 2 doors down when I was 22. She was a stay-at-home mom with a sharp bob and a smile that could sell ice to penguins. Her husband Rick had just lost another sales job, so I did what any decent neighbor would. I helped her unpack, watched her kids during interviews, even nominated her for the brand new HOA board when we finally voted to form one. You're so organized, Karen, I told her at the first meeting. We need someone like you. Her face lit up like I'd handed her the keys to the kingdom. Jordan, you won't regret this. I'll make us proud. I should have paid attention to that phrasing. Not we'll make it great. Just I'll make us proud. Like I was the kid and she was the adult. The dynamic shifted overnight. Karen printed business cards listing herself as HOA president in waiting. She started showing up at my door with clipboards, measuring my grass to the 1/4 inch. Back in my old neighborhood, we never allowed solar panels. They looked tacky. Mom, my actual mom, noticed the tension. She just wants to feel useful. Honey, maybe give her more responsibility. I resisted for months. This was my vision. My late nights writing the bylaws that kept property values climbing. But guilt is a hell of a tool. The quiet dinners, the hints about Rick's depression, the community supports community lectures. So I caved. Part-time at first. You handle enforcement while I focus on the big picture, I said. Her smile could have powered the streetlights. The neighborhood exploded in the best way. My community garden contract with the city brought in grants. Property values jumped 30%. We added a clubhouse, a pool, even a little dog park. I hired real volunteers, not just retirees with time to kill. But with every success, Karen's resentment grew like crabgrass in a flower bed. She'd introduce me as the girl with big ideas, while positioning herself as the veteran who actually made things run. She'd schedule board meetings without telling me, then act surprised when I showed up. Just trying to take things off your plate, dear. You focus on your little garden club. My little garden club, the one that won state awards and kept our streets looking like a magazine spread. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First came the suggestion that changed everything. My mom's gentle push one Sunday barbecue. Just think about it, Jordan. A few shares, voting power, to show you value her contribution. Shares? I should have run. Instead, I passed the potato salad and wondered how much influence would finally shut them up. I learned the answer soon enough. All of it. The transformation from friendly covenants to Karen's iron fist didn't happen overnight. It started with a broken irrigation system at the community park, our biggest asset. The maintenance guy quit, Karen announced one morning, barely hiding her glee. Took 20 years of knowledge with him. Can't find half the valves. I spent that weekend in the park, mapping the chaos. Thousands of sprinkler heads. No digital records. Just coffee-stained notes. By Sunday night, I'd sketched out a solution, not just for us but for every HOA struggling with the same mess. It was basically a simple app. I explained to the city planner, specialized for neighborhood maintenance with predictive scheduling. He leaned back, eyebrows raised. This could be worth more than your garden club. Jordan. I knew it, but building the system required capital I didn't have. The HOA dues were stable, not that stable. I needed buy-in, and that meant restructuring the board. Prescott Oaks HOA Management. Karen read from the new paperwork, voice dripping satisfaction. Had a nice ring. I'd fought against adding their name, but Mom wore me down. She's contributed so much. The voting split was my first real mistake. I kept 55% influence, enough for control. Karen got 20% for her enforcement expertise. Rick received 10% as operations advisor. The rest was for key volunteers. Real community, Karen toasted at our first formal meeting. Just like it should be. The app development consumed me. Days in the garden, nights coding, weekends pitching to suppliers. I hired 2 tech-savvy neighbors, promising voting rights from the volunteer pool. We worked out of the clubhouse back room, surrounded by pool noodles and extra mulch while building something that would revolutionize HOA management. Karen hated it. Every dollar spent on development was a dollar not padding her enforcement fines. We're a neighborhood, not some Silicon Valley wannabe, she'd grumble. But the regional HOA associations saw it differently. One mid-size group offered our first real contract, $50,000 to pilot the system in 3 subdivisions. If successful, they'd roll it out and pay licensing fees. 50 grand? Karen scoffed when I shared the news. My old book club made that in bake sales. Her old book club disbanded in drama. I reminded her, patience fraying. Her face darkened. Mom intervened as always. She just means the risk seems high. Maybe focus on what's working. What was working was my vision. The pilot succeeded beyond expectations. Error rates dropped 80%. Ordering time halved. They signed a 3-year contract worth $400,000 annually. 2 competitors called within a week. That's when Marcus Fitzgerald entered our story. Silver-haired, soft-spoken. He ran a private equity firm specializing in community management. He'd heard about our app through industry contacts and wanted to see it himself. I'll handle this meeting, Karen announced when his assistant called. Big money guys like dealing with experience. We'll both attend, I corrected, but I present the technology. You cover operations. The meeting was scheduled for Tuesday. Karen showed up Monday night at my house, something she'd never done before. We need to strategize, she said, pushing past me with a folder. I've prepared talking points. Her points positioned her as the visionary who'd identified the need. Me as the technical talent who'd executed her idea. I read them in disbelief. This is fiction, Karen. You fought the app every step. Perception matters more than history, she said smoothly. Trust me on this. I didn't trust her, but I also didn't expect what happened next. Marcus arrived early Tuesday morning. I found him in the clubhouse with Karen, who'd apparently come in at dawn to prepare the space. They were deep in conversation. Karen spinning tales about her decades in community leadership, how she'd mentored me from a bright kid to a capable programmer. Ms. Hale. Marcus stood when I entered, but his eyes held a question. Your neighbor was just explaining the HOA's evolution. Founding member, I corrected, setting down my laptop harder than necessary. And I'd be happy to share the actual evolution if you have time for facts rather than fiction. Karen's jaw clenched, but Marcus laughed. I appreciate directness. Please show me what you've built. The demonstration went flawlessly. The app was intuitive, scalable, beautiful in its simplicity. Marcus asked sharp questions. I answered easily. Karen interjected occasionally with vague platitudes about synergy and curb appeal that added nothing. I'm impressed, Marcus said finally. This could modernize the entire HOA industry. He paused, studying us both. I'd like to propose an investment, $2 million for 30% equity, with an option for additional funding as you scale. Karen answered before I could speak. We'll need to discuss it as a management team. Of course. Evaluate if the terms align with our vision. Our vision? I watched her play executive while I'd built everything she was selling. I'll send terms to Ms. Hale, Marcus said carefully, clearly reading the room. As majority influencer and founder, I assume she'll coordinate the response. The drive back was silent until Karen exploded. You embarrassed me in there, contradicting me, acting like I don't matter. You lied, I said simply. This was my idea, my risk, my sleepless nights. I made this possible, she shouted. Without me you'd still be planting flowers in that muddy lot. I pulled over, turned to face her. Without you I'd own 100% of a neighborhood worth $10 million instead of 55% with a parasite attached. Her face went purple. Your mother will hear about this. We'll see how brave you are when she knows how you treat neighbors. But I was done being manipulated. Marcus's offer validated everything I'd built despite Karen's obstruction. The next morning I sent Karen a formal memo. All external meetings required my prior approval. All communications with investors went through me. Any misrepresentation of roles would result in immediate removal from the board. My mom called within an hour, crying. How could you do this to her? She's trying so hard to contribute. Then she should try contributing truth, I said. The tension poisoned everything, but the neighborhood thrived despite it. We closed the Fitzgerald deal. I negotiated Karen down to dilution. That left me with 42% voting power. Still the largest influencer. The cash infusion let us hire 10 volunteers, lease proper equipment, pursue enterprise clients. Within a year our app powered maintenance systems for 6 major subdivisions. Revenue hit $40 million in managed fees and grants. Forbes mentioned us in an article about community innovation. Karen printed copies, highlighting the single mention of her name, framing them for the clubhouse office. But success magnified our conflict. Every board meeting became a battleground. Karen allied with my mom and Rick, turning neighborhood potlucks into strategy sessions against my decisions. They'd vote together on small issues, testing boundaries, building toward something I couldn't quite see. I should have seen it. The signs were there. Private conversations that stopped when I entered. Documents Karen needed for review that never returned. Questions about the bylaws from mom's suddenly interested friends. The week before everything imploded, I overheard Karen on a call. She's burning out, working 20-hour days on that app. It's unsustainable. Someone stable needs to be ready to step in. I confronted her immediately. Planning for my replacement? She didn't even blink. Planning for the neighborhood's future. You can't run at this pace forever. Jordan, what happens when you crash? I'll let you know if I ever find out, I said. But she was right about one thing. I was exhausted. Building the app. Fighting her. Managing developers. Closing deals. I survived on caffeine and stubbornness. Catching naps in the clubhouse. Skipping meals until volunteers forced protein bars on me. That exhaustion would cost me because when the lawyers came with revision documents for our covenants, just clean up language, Karen assured me, I was too tired to read every line, too tired to notice the clause about emergency succession, too tired to see the trap they'd set so carefully, so patiently, too tired to realize that in their eyes I wasn't building a community. I was building their lottery ticket. The board meetings at Whispering Oaks had always felt more like family dinners than corporate governance, which was exactly how Karen wanted it. No need for all that Robert's Rules nonsense. She'd say whenever I suggested more structure. We're neighbors here. Neighbors? That word had become a weapon in her arsenal, deployed whenever I pushed for professionalism. The first real sign of coordinated betrayal came during our Q3 2019 meeting. I just landed our biggest contract yet, a 5-year deal with Titan Communities to modernize their entire maintenance infrastructure across 200 subdivisions. The contract value, $68 million over the term. This changes everything, I told the board, unable to contain my excitement. We'll need to hire 50 volunteers, open a satellite office, maybe acquire that smaller competitor in Phoenix. Slow down there. Hot shot. Karen chuckled, but her eyes were cold. That's a lot of risk for a neighborhood our size. Our managed assets are up 300% year over year, I countered. We have $8 million in reserves. This is exactly when we should expand. Mom shifted uncomfortably. Maybe we should discuss this more thoroughly over potluck. I stared at them. This is the board meeting. This is where we discuss it. Your mother means informally, Karen said. Where we can really hash things out without all this pressure. I'd presented them with the deal of a lifetime, and they wanted to chat about it over lasagna. That Sunday potluck was revealing as Mom served her famous dish. Karen launched her real objections. You're moving too fast, Jordan. What happens if you burn out? Who runs things then? I'm 31, not 70, I said. And we have succession planning in place. Do we though? She shared a look with Mom. The covenants could use updating. Make things clearer. They'd prepared for this. Mom produced a folder, draft amendments. Harold Grayson drew these up, she said, naming her estate attorney. Just to protect everyone's interests. I read through them that night, red pen in hand. Most changes were harmless clarifications, but buried in subsection 4.7.2 was dynamite. In case of incapacitation or extended absence of the founder-influencer, the president could assume emergency control with board approval. Define extended absence, I told our corporate attorney the next morning. She frowned at the language. This is vague. Could mean anything from a 2-week vacation to medical leave. Who drafted this? My mother's estate attorney. Get a real firm, she advised. This is amateur hour. But when I refused to sign the amendments, the real neighbor warfare began. You don't trust us? Mom wept at the next potluck. After everything we've done, what exactly have you done? Mom, I finally snapped. Besides cashing dividend checks? Karen stood up so fast her chair fell. How dare you speak to your mother that way? She supported you every step. Supported me? She guilted me into giving you a job, voting power, and authority you never earned. The silence that followed was deafening. Mom's tears dried instantly, replaced by something harder. I see, she said quietly. Well, if that's how you feel, perhaps we should make these meetings strictly business. Perfect, I said. But it wasn't perfect. It was the beginning of the end. Board meetings became silent wars. Every initiative I proposed met unified resistance from Karen and Mom. They'd request endless documentation, feasibility studies, third-party validations. Meanwhile, Karen's enforcement decisions, hiring her drinking buddies as inspectors, leasing unnecessary equipment, sailed through on their 2-to-1 votes. You can't run a neighborhood by committee, Marcus Fitzgerald warned during a check-in call. Especially when the committee's against you. They're not against me, I insisted. They're just cautious. He sighed. Jordan, I've seen this movie before. Community organizations implode when personal dynamics override fiduciary duty. You need to buy them out or bring in independent board members. Both options required their consent. When I proposed adding 2 independent directors, they voted it down. When I offered to buy Karen's voting rights at a 50% premium, she laughed. This neighborhood is worth 10 times what you're offering. Besides, why would I sell? I'm building something here. Building something? While I worked 18-hour days. She held court in the clubhouse, entertaining suppliers with stories about the old days and promises about big changes coming. The Titan launch consumed my life. Coordinating developers, hiring staff, managing client expectations. I lived on airports and conference calls. Karen used my absence to consolidate power, scheduling emergency meetings that mysteriously aligned with my travel. Just keeping the home fires burning. She'd text with photos of her running sessions I should have led. I started copying our attorney on everything. Document everything, she advised. You're going to need it. She was right. The Phoenix expansion required board approval for the lease. A gorgeous space in the tech corridor, perfect for the 100-person team we'd need. I presented the terms at May's board meeting, confident they couldn't reject such a reasonable proposal. Seems pricey, Karen mused, despite the rate being below market. We need to see more comparisons. Maybe something smaller, Mom added. Smaller? We have 70 people starting in 8 weeks. They need somewhere to work. Then perhaps you should have consulted us before making commitments, Karen said smoothly. They tabled the vote, then tabled it again, then requested a feasibility study on remote work. By the time they finally approved a lease, I'd lost the original space and paid premium for a lesser alternative. Cost the HOA an extra $200,000. I told our treasurer, document that. The pattern repeated. They delay, obstruct, then blame me for the resulting problems. Marketing campaigns missed launch windows. Key hires went elsewhere. Competitor movements went unchallenged. But the worst betrayal happened at home. I'd finally bought my own upgraded house on the same street, my first real asset beyond HOA influence. Mom insisted on a housewarming potluck. Just neighbors, she promised. Let's remember what matters. I arrived to find Karen in my home office, photographing documents I'd left on my desk. What the hell are you doing? She didn't even look embarrassed. You left the Titan contract revisions here. Needed to review them. Those are confidential drafts and you're in my private home. Your mother let me in, she said as if that explained everything. Neighbors don't have secrets. Jordan. I looked at the photos on her phone. Not just contracts, my personal notes, strategic plans, even my journal where I'd vented frustrations. Delete those now. She pocketed the phone. You'll fire me. Need board approval for that. Sue me. I'm reviewing community documents as president. Get out of my house. Mom appeared in the doorway. Jordan, don't be dramatic. She's trying to help. By spying? By violating my privacy. You're becoming paranoid, she said sadly. Maybe you do need a break. There it was. The groundwork for their incapacitation clause. Paint me as unstable, overworked, paranoid. Build a case for emergency succession. I installed cameras the next day, changed every lock, moved sensitive documents to a safety deposit box, started recording conversations when legally allowed. You're spiraling, Karen told the board in June. Look at her weight loss, insomnia, paranoid behaviors. This isn't healthy leadership. I'm fine, I said through gritted teeth. Are you, though? Mom's concerns seemed genuine to anyone who didn't know better. When's the last time you took a real day off? They had me trapped. Defend my mental health and look defensive. Admit exhaustion and trigger their succession clause. Every option played into their narrative. So I did the only thing I could. I doubled down on success. The Titan launch exceeded every projection. The Phoenix office hummed with energy. Revenue projections for the year hit 90 million. Industry publications called us the future of community management. Congratulations, Karen said after I presented the numbers at September's board meeting. Her smile was a predator's grin. You've built something really valuable here. Valuable, not important or innovative or game-changing. Valuable. That's when I knew they weren't trying to run the neighborhood to improve it. They were preparing it for sale.